start by laying out your yarn into lines to make the graph. Then you will proceed to lay out more lines horizontally. So after you do your vertical lines in the previous clip, now you're going to do horizontal lines to make the squares for the graph. As discussed earlier, you will need some sort of marker. My choice was a rolled up yoga mat. I'm going to use this to mark the middle of my graph, which for me is right here. Then, after rolling your scarf to represent a line, you want to mark the initial graph before the translation. Here, our initial graph is y equals the absolute value of x. And I use the yoga mat to make it easier to kind of pull to get it even on my graph. Now, we're going to use our second rolled up scarf to mark the translated point on the graph. So for this problem, we're going to take y equals the absolute value of x and translate it to y equals the absolute value of x minus 2. Now, I kept the original so that you can see the translation. So we translated from the middle of the graph, y equals the absolute value of x, to subtracting 2, which means we go down 2 on the graph. We go 1 square down to 2 squares down. And this is where our graph translates. So this is the original graph. This is the translated graph. This would be our end point right here. In the case of using our graphing calculator, you're going to press y equals, and you're going to, for my calculator it's older, so we're going to go to math, over 1 arrow, 1 for absolute value, and we're going to type in x, parentheses, and graph. And that's going to show the graph of y equals absolute value of x. Then, to show the translation, we go back to y equals, and we type in y equals the absolute value of x minus 2. Press graph again, and it shows the translation. We subtracted 1 and 2 on the on y, and that's how you do it on a graphing calculator. It's neat. So from here, we went down 2 on the y-axis because of this minus 2. If this had been a plus sign, we would have gone up 2. So whichever sign it is tells you whether to go up or down on the y-axis strictly because it's outside of the absolute value. If there was a number inside the absolute value, we would move left and right. And actually that would be opposites depending on the sign. But right now we're just dealing with outside of the absolute value. So our translation, this is the original, y equals absolute value of x, and this is our translated graph, y equals the absolute value of x minus 2, going down 2 on that y-axis. And that's our translation.